Welcome to Unmute Yourself. I'm your host, Jennifer Carter, and I'm so glad you're here. This podcast is about lifting the curtain on leadership, purpose, and the real stories behind people who dared to do things differently. We'll talk about how they found their path, the struggles they faced, and how they built something that truly matters. These are everyday people doing extraordinary things, and I want you to know you're capable of that too. So in this second part of our special with Kim Lewis, we are shifting gears. So we're moving from her nonprofit leadership to her entrepreneurial story as the founder of Motivational Muse. So through her company, Kim helps leaders and organizations grow with purpose, authenticity, and courage. She's an executive coach, consultant, and speaker, and she's authored 4 books, including A Seat at the Table or A Part of the Meal and Against All Odds, a bestseller co-written with Lisa Nichols. So Kim, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
Yes, I'm so glad to continue our conversation. So let's talk about how you went about building a business that has heart.
Oh my
How'd you get
gosh.
started, right?
Yes, yes. So this is an interesting story. We talked a little bit in episode 1 about fear and what keeps us back. And I mentioned that it took me 17 years to publish my first book. Well, I had an idea to do an e-zine. Now I'm aging myself.
Well, I remember Zines.
You remember the
I
e-zines? Those
do.
were the first electronic or digital magazines.
Yes.
And I was going to call it Motivational Muse, but I got scared.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately just shut that door and didn't think about it again. And in 2018, I went through a program, a fellowship with the Global Good Fund. And it
Love
just
the global good.
ignited this idea in my head. And it was really it's a leadership program that I've actually modeled here at Goodwill, and we partner with Global Good Fund to do our business entrepreneurship program. It's called Good Biz. But I learned that okay, there's something in me that is trying to get out. And while I give a lot to Goodwill, there's something else that is trying to get out. And so I started, kind of doing the self work and exploring what that could be possibly. And it popped back in my head, Motivational Muse. And I thought, oh, well, it's been 23 years. I can't, that domain name is gone. I won't be able to get a website. The business name is gone. I won't be able to do any of that. And at the time, my dad was dealing with a health issue. And so I had flown home, and it was the night before I was flying back to Texas. And I was sitting there, and the television was on, and there's a televangelist who's here in the Dallas area, TD Jakes. And I was just kind of listening to him in the background. And he said, "Let's go." And I've listened to him many times, but I didn't hear his voice when he said that. I believe I heard the voice of God. And when I heard that voice, I immediately knew what the let's go was. And so I was scrolling on my phone. My parents lived out in the country. They did not have internet or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm scrolling on my phone, and I had been secretly, you know how you have dreams and you don't tell anybody about
Oh
it,
yeah, because
you
that's
know?
scary.
And
Yeah.
so I had been secretly thinking about, this motivational muse thing for a minute. And so I had looked at some different websites, and I'd been following different people. Lisa Nichols was one of them, to see how they got their business started and all of that. I knew I wanted to coach. So
Okay.
I knew I wanted to do some coaching work. And so I immediately said, okay, what is it that I want to do? Well, how do I start this? And the thought dropped in my mind, well, you need a website. And I thought, well, the domain's name's gone. So I get my phone out and I search. It's available. Ooh,
You were
ooh,
about to make a whole reason why you couldn't do it that wasn't even real. Okay, keep going.
exactly.
Yep.
And so long story short, I ended up in an hour or less doing the 75% on my phone, my website on my phone. I went to a site in
Yeah.
Wix.com
Oh yeah, I use Wix.
and did that. And then when I got to the airport the next morning, my flight was delayed. And so I pulled out my tablet, used their Wi-Fi, and finished out my website. 2 weeks later, I'm talking with a friend and we meet for lunch. And he was like, and I said, we haven't talked forever. What's going on with you? And we're walking into the restaurant. He says, well, I'm looking for a consultant for a nonprofit that I started. And we're at a crossroads, we're transitioning, we're not sure. I founded it, so I need to get out of that founder mode. Da, 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 da. Da. By the time we sat at the table, I had my phone open and I just shoved it in his face. And it was my website. And it was, executive coaching, nonprofit consultations, da 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 da. And he says, Muse, is this you? And I said, yeah, it's me. This is everything I need. Everything I need. And so, we began working together a couple of weeks later. And I worked with that organization and another organization and another, and it just grew from there.
It's so cool that you just did it and then a client showed up.
Hmm.
And how did you know that you wanted to do coaching or consulting?
Well, I think because people have always come to me, I'd mentor you.
Yes.
I've mentored a lot of different people. And so just through, I think, the things that I have learned as a leader, I felt like, I could be a good coach and I could be an empathetic coach who
Mhm,
could come, particularly for women, but I do
mhm.
coach a lot of men who could come from the place of outside of nonprofit. I didn't grow up in a nonprofit. I didn't start in a nonprofit. I came from corporate. And what does that mean? And then transitioning to a nonprofit. So I felt like that was a skill set that I certainly had. And then during COVID, when we were all home,
Yeah, we were.
I went ahead and got my certification in executive coaching.
I did the same thing. Mine was during COVID too.
I'm so glad. I remember doing a little live or a podcast or something. It wasn't even a podcast at the time, and I was just begging people not to sit at home and do nothing. Go back to school, get that certification, get that extra knowledge, learn some new something,
Right.
because I was like, we're never going to have this time, hopefully, this kind of time because of this kind of reason, where we are really in and of ourselves and to ourselves. So take this opportunity and instead of just scrolling mindlessly on social media, build your brain, build your skill set, build your circle that is going to push you forward.
Okay, so I don't know why this popped in my brain, but I have this person that I've been coaching, right? And they want out of corporate and they want to work for themselves
Hmm.
and start their own thing, be an entrepreneur. But they are so stuck in, I don't have any skills. There's nothing I can do. I can't think of a business idea. What would you say to someone in figuring out their skills and how to monetize that and turn that into a business?
Hmm. Hmm. And I have it written on, I have a little whiteboard right in here, right
Oh,
here,
yeah, you do. Okay.
keyboard, whiteboard. And I was cleaning it off, a few things off of it. Of course, it's still got a lot of stuff. But I wrote, capitalize on what I do and help others to do the same. So whatever that person does for a living, that's an option. Consulting is a huge industry, huge business. You see now if you go to LinkedIn, you'll see on people's profiles, it'll say fractional this,
Right.
fractional that, right? That basically means that they have their own business and they are working for a small amount of time, a segmented amount of time, usually from the comfort of their home. And they're working as an accountant or they're working in the HR field or some other field. But that fractional means I'm going to give you a fraction of time, but I'm going to give you some deliverables during that fraction of time. And for many organizations and businesses, that's all they need.
Hmm.
It's better for them because, they're not taking on the cost of a full-time employee with benefits.
Yeah.
So that's something. Also look at, what do people always ask you about?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What do they ask you about? What do they ask you to do for them? If at every family gathering, somebody says, oh, can you make that lemon cream pie? Maybe it's a lemon cream pie business.
That sounds so good.
You know,
Yeah.
what is it that you're really good at? And I know a lot of people say, well, I'm not really good at anything and I don't really have any interest, because I've had that too.
Yeah.
Then, you really have to look, and that's not really true. They just don't think they can make money out of it.
Or never even thought about it in that way.
Right, right.
Right.
What's a hobby? You may not have a skill set, to code. You may not be, an IT genius and you can code. Okay, that's fine. But there are other things that you can do. and we saw that during COVID. I mean, how many people came up with their own businesses? I mean, I know a woman, and she was already a business owner. She had owned a hair salon, but of course during COVID, all that shut down. And so she went online, and she was also doing a weight loss journey. And she just started, just for kicks and giggles, kind of posting her weight loss journey. And she decided, okay, I'm just going to accept myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to get fit. I'm going to get healthy, but I'm also going to be cute. I'm going to be really cute.
We like to be cute
Yeah, we like to be cute.
because it's fun.
So she started, posting her outfits, where she got them from. And today, that is a very, very lucrative business for her. She is a social media influencer. She has a contract with Walmart.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So I also see people getting stuck in the how. How are they going to make that happen? I want to be a stylist. I want to be a real estate agent. I want to be this, but I can't possibly X, Y, and Z. You don't know where it's going to end up. Like, I'm
Right.
sure she didn't set out and say, I'm going to have a contract with Walmart.
I mean, she
Right.
already had business. She was going to go and continue doing hair,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this is much more flexible for her. I know another young lady. In fact, her dad is one of our Goodwill CEOs, and she had graduated from college, had a lucrative job, but she loves makeup and playing in the mirror. And so she decided, during COVID, she started doing a lot of that, just applying makeup, and she's beautiful. And people started saying, "Oh, well, what is this? What kind of mascara is this? And what kind of makeup? And what
Mhm.
kind of foundation? And how do you do your hair?" And guess what?
What?
That's what she does full time for a living.
It's what when you're speaking, like, it looks like a trail of breadcrumbs or clues that you get to solve for yourself. Like, do things
Yes.
that you like to do and then just keep doing them, and you'll see what appears, and just keep picking things up and trying it and seeing. Cool. So you have a foot in both worlds, right? So you've got a
Mhm.
foot in established nonprofit leadership, been around a very long time, solid brand, to building your own company from scratch. What to you is the mindset change or shift that happens between those two worlds?
For me, there isn't a split. It seemed natural to almost merge them together. So I don't try to split them. I don't apologize for it. I am who I am. So
Yeah.
it all comes together. That's what we do at Goodwill. My clientele is just different. You know, we are coaching at Goodwill. We are helping people to transition from one career to the other career, to elevate themselves in whatever
Mhm.
way, to find themselves in whatever way, and find meaningful work for themselves. We're doing that already. And so I'm just doing that at the executive level, because executives run into some of the same paradigms. I don't have enough money, and sometimes
Oh, yeah.
we're thinking about what the product will look like in the future. And we're not thinking about all the steps that it's going to take to get there. And so we want it now,
Yeah, we do.
and it's like, well, I can't, get a loan for, $2 million to start this company. Okay. So how can you start it in your garage, in your basement, your kitchen table? Let's start there.
Mhm.
Just start, because when you start, you're going to see, okay, I'm good at this. I'm not good at that. Let me hire somebody. Let me get one of those fractional folks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all of those because
Yeah.
yes.
All of to
Yeah.
do my books. Let me do all of that kind of thing. You'll learn, because there are so many skills that we learn in life and learn in work that can cross over.
Mhm.
We're not two divided people. We're one singular mind.
Right.
And so I use a quote. I don't even know who's attributed to, but how you do one thing is how you do everything, or how you
Integrity.
do anything is how you do everything. I've
Right.
seen it both ways. And I really believe that. I believe that if you if you show consistency on your job, you're then able to show consistency in your business. But if you can't show consistency in your job, how are you going to do it in your business?
Can't do it. You gotta really be careful about what you're committing to and really conscious and really decide.
Hmm.
Are you in or are you out? Is it a heck
Right.
yes or a heck no? And either way is fine, but you
Yeah.
just have to decide.
And I'll say this too, some people, like my niece, for example, I have two nieces that are wonderful, and I've coached them. And one, she said, "Auntie, I'm not like you. I'm not an entrepreneur. I have no desire
Mm,
to be an entrepreneur, but I do have other dreams and goals." And so we had to work on actually getting her to even dream.
been beat out of
And
it.
and so she started I started with a vision board for her. And let's get you to start visualizing some stuff. And every year she adds to that vision board and she adds to her dreams and adds to her dreams and adds to her dreams. I said, now allow your full-time job
Mhm.
to be your funder of your dreams. That way you can go to work happy. That way you can go to work with purpose. It doesn't matter what they do. Listen, this is getting me my new kitchen. You know, this
Yeah.
is getting me my chick. She has chickens. That was one of her dreams. She has chickens.
Chickens.
She wants
Many
chickens.
people want
Yeah.
chickens. Everyone wants a chicken. Yeah. My
Everyone wants a chicken now.
husband does not want a chicken. He said no.
It's real.
Right.
And so now she's got chickens. And so every year she adds to that and she has more and more dreams and she's extremely happy. She's gone from being, I don't have any purpose. Oh, I
Yeah.
don't know what to do. Oh, I don't like this job. Da, 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 to, oh, I love my job because it allows me to do ABC.
Yeah, you make your dreams come
Hmm.
true, but you have to figure out what those dreams are first.
Right.
Get a chicken. I'm gonna well, so you write a lot. I know you're very consistent in your writing. We talked about, consistency really matters. I wonder too, like what have your clients or your readers taught you about leadership and resilience?
To be very mindful and particular about what you choose. Don't chase the money. Don't do it just because somebody asked you to do it. Don't always say yes. I say yes a lot of times, but I'm particular about the clientele that I choose. If I don't think that and I don't mind referring them to someone else. If I think that someone else is more suited for them. And when you're a life coach, a lot of times people confuse that with a counselor or a
Yes.
therapist.
Yes.
I am neither. And so if I feel like that's what they're really seeking, then I will refer them, to someone who does that, who is a licensed therapist, who is a
Yeah.
counselor, or advise them to go seek out those services, with someone that they're comfortable with. And sometimes they don't realize that until you get into the counseling journey, you know. And so then you have to end that counseling journey in the coaching journey
Mhm.
so they can then take advantage of the counseling journey that they need.
Yeah. So it's being really intentional about who you serve and why and what your skill set.
Mhm.
Great. Now, when you were that little girl dreaming of Paris with your briefcase, right? That was
Yeah,
what success looked like to you then.
right.
And what does success look like to you now?
Success really looks like making other people successful. You know, I get such a thrill and such a kick out of seeing people reach their potential and reach their
Mhm,
dreams and their goals, and for that light bulb to finally click
mhm.
from that person who is just really struggling with trying to figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And they may be successful. I've had clients who are very successful, but like yours was like, I'm tired of this rat race and I want to go out on my own, but I don't know what I want to do. So then we say, okay, well, what is it that you're doing now that fills your spirit?
Mhm.
What makes you shine? And so they talk about, well, my volunteer work or my work in the community or my advocacy work. Okay, let's look. Do you want to open your own business? Some do and some don't. And so if you want to open your own business, let's look at what it takes to do that. If you want to just find a career in that realm, let's start looking for those careers and what are the competencies that you need to present. And so I've actually done job search for some of my clients and help them to find very high level jobs that they can transition to that then feeds their soul.
Yeah. Yeah, people get scared and they just stay in their same thing because it's easier and more comfortable, even if they're miserable.
Hmm.
So I love that uh, your definition of success is seeing that light bulb go off for other people.
Hmm.
And I love that I haven't heard you once define success as a title or an amount of money. What advice do you have to people and there's nothing wrong with it, but we both see it, right? So I'm going to
Hmm.
be, and I was this when I was young, I'm going to be CEO. I'm going to be this. Like I didn't know any different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you say to folks that are
You
looking
know,
for the title and the
you're
money?
right. There's nothing wrong with that. And, the title is an ego thing,
Mhm.
it is somewhat of an identifier, but who are you without the title? You have to think about that. Am I the same person without the title? Do I have the same power? Do I have the same superpower?
Mhm.
The same influence without the title. And that's why, I talk about a lot going outside of your immediate circle. If I when I, go to another country, or I'm, sitting with a group of people who know nothing about Goodwill Industries, the title is somewhat impressive, but they don't really, it's not that everybody calls themselves CEO these
Oh, yeah.
days.
Yeah.
A CEO of what? I'm a
Right.
dog catcher, but I'm a CEO of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I am. Yep. Right.
Fine. And so really the title is not even that, it doesn't carry the same weight as it did many
Mm.
years ago. But I would say, and even for the money will come, the money will come. My dad was a pastor, an entrepreneur. He had his own business, and he was a school teacher
What?
all at the same time. And so I grew up with that, and I knew you could be different things, and you could transition your life. You might do one set of things for 10 years, and then the next 10 years you do something else, and the next 10 years you do something else, or you could do it all at one time.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah. So, Kim, what's next for Motivational Muse? Any new projects?
Yeah, and I'm still at looking at what do I need to continue to do and what do I need to stop doing. And I think I talked a little bit of, the episode, which is kind of, it straddles the fence of both,
Mhm.
Motivational Muse and Goodwill. And it is, the streaming television show, podcast. I don't know what it's going to be, perhaps book, really about tablescaping, but more so about a seat at the table and how you make space and room for other people to come into the room and then give them the impetus to speak and let their voice be heard. And I'll give you an example of that. We had fairly new CEO that I befriended, and who was very, very capable, very, very competent, but new to the Goodwill world, and was not quite sure that she fit in.
Mhm.
And people didn't know her. Goodwill is a very,
Oh, yeah.
knit family. And, it was like everybody knew everybody, and they were laughing and talking and, greeting each other at conferences and in hall and going out to dinner and all that kind of thing. And she wasn't part of that yet.
Mhm.
And so I started inviting her to circles with me, or sit with me, or meetings with me, and then introducing her. And then I would tell everybody, and she's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. Ask her about so and so and so and so. Tell them about so and so and so and so and so.
Yeah. Shining light on other people.
And then she kind of perked up, and then she'd start giving her ideas, and she really is brilliant, and she'd start talking about things that she was doing at her Goodwill or wanted to do at her Goodwill. And so now she is well known. She's quite known in the circle. She's,
Mhm.
she's a Goodwiller. And, for some people, they need, it just takes a little time. Anytime you go into a new setting,
Yeah.
you're the new girl in school,
Yep. I was
the
just
new kid
thinking
in
it's the
school.
lunch table again.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lunch table
It's the
again.
lunch table, middle school lunch table. Here we go. Well, Kim, let's close with a few quick fire questions. Okay, here we go. So, based on your entrepreneurial journey and greatness, what is one lesson you've learned that you wish everyone knew?
Just do it.
Just do it. Love.
Yes,
Yes. And if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
you are enough.
You hear that, everybody? You are
Mhm.
enough. Okay, in one sentence, what does leadership mean to you today?
Leadership means helping other people to fulfill their dreams and their goals through coaching, consulting, and inspiring people through my public speaking
You're helping
books.
others.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
your
just
impact on
helping
others.
others.
So,
Yeah.
and what is the boldest choice you've made that's paid off?
Oh my goodness. I would say, certainly the boldest choice was starting Motivational Muse and blending my voice with my Motivational Muse voice with my Goodwill voice.
Yeah, can't be separated. You're one person.
Hmm.
Now, okay, before we wrap, and thank you so much for doing this special second episode with us, I always do like to ask two final questions. So, if listeners walk away remembering just one thing from this conversation, what do you hope it is?
Find what inspires you and lean into it.
I love it. So, what has it meant for you to share your entrepreneurial journey here on Unmute Yourself today?
It really means that, again, I'm motivating other people
Yeah.
to find themselves and find that thing that they're passionate about, that inspires them, that they want to share, that other people ask them about or ask them to do, and making it into a moment for themselves, and just enjoying life. I mean, that's enjoying even tablescaping. That's something that relieves stress for me. I have a little bit of a, what's the word, obsession with it.
I had no idea.
Oh, yes. Check out my Instagram.
I will.
I have a little bit of an obsession, but I absolutely love it. And I think it goes back to my mother. My mother taught me how to set the table. And when we had family gatherings and holidays, that was my job to set the table, make the centerpiece, all of the things.
It's a part of who you are.
Hmm.
Great. So how can people connect with you and Motivational Muse?
Yes, they can go to my website, motivationalmuse.com. I also have a YouTube channel and a podcast, Motivational Muse with Kimberly Lewis, as well as blogs that I share on LinkedIn and on my website, Motivational Muse on Facebook as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for joining me again. And thank you to everyone listening for showing up, reflecting, and unmuting yourself in your own way. If today's conversation inspired you, please share this episode, subscribe, like, and stay tuned for more stories of leaders creating work that truly fits and matters. And if you'd like to support the podcast, consider making a monthly donation on Buzzsprout. It helps us keep bringing you these stories and voices that matter. So until next time, unmute yourself and step into the story only you can tell.